All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are looking at a truly remarkable piece of source material, a story called Sita'S Equations. Now, this text brilliantly takes the ancient 24,000 verse Ramayana epic and completely flips it on its head, transforming it into a gripping, hard science fiction narrative. But honestly, it's not just a clever retelling. It's a profound look at who actually gets the credit in the real world of science and innovation, deeply exploring themes of intellectual property, female erasure in STEM, and, of all things, quantum physics. We're going to unpack exactly how the author grounds these ancient magical concepts into some seriously rigorous scientific world building.
Listen to this opening line. She didn't need to be rescued. She needed her lab back. I mean, that is a total mic drop. It immediately hooks you and establishes the core subversion of this entire explainer. Our protagonist, Sita, is definitely not a helpless princess waiting around for a prince. She is a brilliant theoretical physicist. Her freedom hasn't just been restricted. Her groundbreaking scientific work has literally been stolen.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our thematic map for today. First, we'll look at redefining the epic, then the quantum golden deer, followed by an institutional abduction, the secret composition notebooks, and finally, the accelerator fire ordeal.
So part 1, redefining the epic, from magic to methodology.
What is so absolutely fascinating about this text is how it replaces sweeping magic with strict scientific methodology. Just look at this contrast. On the left, we've got the classic myth: a demon king kidnaps a princess and drags her across the ocean. But on the right, the modern retelling. Here, a rival research facility, the Lanka Institute run by Ravana, physically steals Sita's instrument arrays and 14 months of irreplaceable primary data. The stakes are just as high, but the battlefield is modern science.
Which brings us to Section 2, the quantum golden deer, or the Dandaka forest anomaly. Now, to understand the theft, we really have to understand what was stolen in the first place. The story sets the scene at Sita's remote, exhausting 14-month field posting in the Dandaka forest. And it's here that she makes an impossible discovery, a dharmic fixed point. Essentially, this is a topological coherence node. Think of it like a perfectly calm protective bubble hidden within the messy, chaotic geometry of space-time. This bubble actually prevents quantum coherence from decaying the way it normally does in our everyday macroscopic world. And the scale of this? It is staggering. 400 Sita has found room temperature quantum coherence extending over 400 meters of forest. Just to put that into perspective, in normal physics, coherence breaks down at scales smaller than a single macroscopic cell. So finding a 400-meter stable quantum field in the middle of a warm, bustling forest, that is a phenomenal, world-changing breakthrough. We are talking about the holy grail of physics here. And that brings us to the famous golden deer from the original myth. You know the one, right? Well, in this text, the golden deer isn't some magical illusion or a disguised demon. It's a real biological entity. And incredibly, it has naturally evolved to exploit this exact 400-meter quantum anomaly. When it moves, it consistently stands at the exact local maximum of the coherence field. It's just your average everyday ungulate, perfectly evolved to hack a topological quirk of the universe. Moving right along to Section 3, an institutional abduction, the theft of science.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the real danger to Sita in this forest isn't a literal monster jumping out from behind a tree. It's the systemic theft of her intellectual property. She faces a devastating dual betrayal. On one hand, Ravana literally steals her physical instruments and all her primary data because he wants to weaponize the anomaly for defense contracts. But on the other hand, and this is almost worse, Rama, her own husband and colleague, amends their joint grant application behind her back to make himself the primary investigator. The book uses this dynamic to shine a massive spotlight on real-world institutional bias. So Sita is essentially abducted on two fronts. Her physical data is stolen by an enemy, and her academic credit is stolen by an ally. But right in the middle of this, Sita realizes something profound. You cannot take someone's understanding. It's such an empowering moment. Yes, Ravana has her physical equipment. He has her hard drives. But the actual theoretical framework required to unlock that data, the critical why behind the anomaly, that remains entirely, securely locked inside her head. And that kicks off Section 4, the secret composition notebooks, and surviving the Linka compound. So to survive her captivity and actually finish her theory, Sita willingly goes to the Lanka Institute. Why? Because she needs access to their highly advanced particle accelerator.
She pulls off this brilliant Trojan horse strategy, working in two distinct layers to evade their massive surveillance network. In the visible layer, on their heavily monitored computers, she just does basic analysis to keep Ravana satisfied. But the real work? She develops her groundbreaking unified theory secretly, from scratch, writing entirely by hand in 10 cheap 11 rupee composition notebooks that she literally hides inside large textbooks. It's like a high-stakes heist, but for theoretical physics.
And the timeline of her captivity acts as a constant ticking clock. Let's walk through it. By month 3, she secures a preliminary accelerator run that confirms her math is right. Then, tension rapidly spikes in month 8 when Ravana's security team actually photographs notebooks 1 through 7. Luckily, she hadn't written the final conclusions yet. Month 11 throws a massive curveball when her twins, Lava and Kusha, are born, a variable Ravana definitely didn't plan for. And finally, in month 12, right before her last accelerator run, she manages the secret data transmission of her completed theory to outside reviewers, ingeniously signaling them with a smuggled package of cardamom.
And this brilliantly illustrates the scientific climax found inside those notebooks, a concept called relational co-arising. Sita discovers that the universe isn't just a static stage where things happen, it's a dynamic dance. The universe is bidirectional. Space-time geometry and the quantum state of matter don't just interact, they mutually shape and co-evolve into stable configurations together. Matter shapes space-time through relational complexity. It is just a breathtakingly beautiful physical law. That leads us into our final section, Part 5, the accelerator fire ordeal, asking the universe. The absolute climax hits when Sita conducts her full final particle accelerator run, literally just as Ravana figures out her true theory has been leaked to the outside world. And this sets up a powerful question drawn straight from the original myth. How exactly do you pass a purity test? In the ancient story, Sita is forced to walk through a literal fire to prove her innocence. But our protagonist, she has a very, very different view of what it means to prove oneself. Just look at how the text starkly contrasts these two ideas. In the story's thematic framing, the mythic fire required a performance of innocence to satisfy a patriarchal audience that doubted her. But the particle accelerator, that is a raw scientific measurement. Sita isn't asking Ravana or Rama for validation. She's asking the universe itself to confirm her mathematical truth. If the collision signatures match her predictions, she's right. The universe answers to absolutely no one's bias. The final equation she writes includes this gorgeous poetic translation. The distinction between observer and observed is not suppressed, but transcended, each arising in the act of relation with the other. The science ultimately mirrors her own triumph perfectly. She isn't just a victim reacting to an oppressor. She exists in a profound, undeniable, co-arising relationship with reality itself. And, of course, the universe confirms her equations. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. What happens to the world when we finally recognize that the universe remembers its coherence and the brilliance of those who map it? Sita reclaimed her lab, her data, and her intellectual legacy not by fighting fire with fire, but by understanding the very fabric of space-time better than anyone else alive. It's an incredible reframing of a classic epic, and just an unforgettable look at the resilience of the scientific mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.